Gather your Orphan blocks, your scrap fabric pieces. We're going to make something beautifully unexpected. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jackie and I love everything scrap fabric. And I love using scrap fabric to make quilts, quilt blocks, quilt-as-you-go. Today I'm making a quilt from Orphan blocks and scrap fabric pieces, which you know is my favorite. I made each of my blocks 12 inches, and for this quilt I'm doing 3 across and 5 down. This will make a cozy lap quilt. As you can see, I have pieced these without batting or backing, which is very unusual for me, but today we're trying a new technique and I'm pretty excited to share this with you. This is going to be the most beautiful ugly quilt I've ever made. I'm going to share a technique with you by someone named Joanne Banko, and her website is letsgosew.com. I think you're really going to enjoy this. It may seem a little tricky at first, but I think you'll start making a lot of your quilts this way. This technique would be perfect for baby quilts, lap quilts, placemats, pot holders, and so much more. Today I will be using my serger for this technique, as that's what she uses. However, no worries. If you don't have a serger, you'll just put that walking foot on your sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance where I'm using the serger. An easy swap out. It's just that we're sewing through a lot of layers, and you'll see that once we get started with this. Let's go over the materials you're going to need for this project. You're going to need 15 pieced quilt blocks. They can be anything. I just put together things that I had. Many of you ask, what do you do with all the quilt blocks that you have? Well, this one I did create myself, and then I just put a border around it to make it 12 inches. This one is really cute. This came from Carol. It was in a basket full of orphaned quilt blocks that she gave me, and I thought it was really cute. And then I found some fabric and I fussy cut "Kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul" from Proverbs 16:24. And that's what I did with that one. This is all kinds of stuff. This is where I did a square and a square, and then it wasn't big enough, so I just added some other fabrics. So that's kind of cool. This one, nothing matches. When you make these ugly quilts, nothing matches, which is the beauty of them. We just have all kinds of stuff going on here. So anyway, you'll need the 15 piece quilt blocks. You're going to need batting or flannel. Today I am using flannel only because I feel that this is going to be really thick. If you use batting, use a really thin batting. You'll need a backing fabric. I'm using muslin. And then I want to tell you, on the flannel pieces, you'll want those to be 36 by 12, because what we're going to do, we're going to section off the quilt. We'll connect 3 at a time. Those will be our rows, just like a normal quilt, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So your batting and backing fabrics need to be 36 inches wide by 12. I know that when we combine these, we'll lose some in the seam allowance. I'm not worried about that because I can trim at the end. For binding your quilt, however you want to do it, you'll need some binding strips. I do have a video on how I bind my quilts, placemats, table runners, all of those, and I will link that in a card above. You'll need scissors, rotary cutter, pens or clips, whatever you want to use to connect these, whatever's easier for you, sewing machine, serger, and thread. Let's head to the sewing room and we'll get started. I just want to show you the state of my sewing room. The reason I wanted to start this ugly quilt project is because I have so much scrap fabric, and I just thought it would be so much fun So I'm going to be making lots of these. And when I found this technique, I thought, this is perfect. I can get these out in no time. So here's a basket. My tray needs some love. It needs organized again. I've got my homemade jelly roll that I've been using. I'll just stick that in here. Another pile of fabric. Look at this basket. Look at this basket. It is full of scrap fabric as well. And it has quite a bit of orphan blocks that I really need to get to. So if you've got some of these, and then these are from Carol. Thank you, Carol. I have lots of those types of things like this. And all you need to do is connect two pieces like this. You've got a strip set and just build around it. That would be perfect. Looks like I have some strips in here that should be in here. Look at this. This would be perfect to start your quilt block and just build it out to 12 inches. And of course you can have whatever size you want, but this. So I have quite a bit to keep me busy for a while, but let me get my table clear so I can show you what's going on here. The first thing we need to do is join the blocks in the first two rows. So this one to this one and this one to this one. And then make a row with your second pile. Once I have that done, I'll be right back. Now I've joined these pieces. So I have one row and this is the second row. Here is the concept for the first two rows. You are going to lay your batting down, then a backing piece right side up, a backing piece right side down, your batting, row 1 is here, right side up, and fabric 2, which is the second row, right side down. And I'll try to show you that close up. I did a sample sandwich here. So you'll lay down batting, or in my case, I'm using flannel. Backing piece right side up, backing piece right side down, another piece of batting or flannel, row 1 is right side up, row 2 right side down. And when I sew it on the serger, it looks like that, but if I flip this open and flip open my back sides, they are joined magically, just like that. And the thing with this is, once we join them, you do have time to quilt on row 1 before we connect row 3 to row 2. But I'll show you that in a minute. So let's get our sandwich made. First of all, it says we need a piece of batting. In our case, it's a piece of flannel. And I just have some white flannel here in case you can't find any at the thrift store, which is what happened to me. I went there looking for a flannel blanket, and I just found this. This is 12 inches by 36 inches or so, because you know my cutting, but pretty close. And I did link this particular flannel in my Amazon storefront if you're interested. Otherwise, guys, what I'm going to start doing is hitting the garage sales and see if I can find some flannel blankets, because this is going to be a lot thinner and just as warm as the batting. Okay, back to the instructions. We have a piece of batting. Then we need a backing piece right side up. I'm using muslin, and I did put a pin here so that I would remember which was right side up. And I'll see if I can get you higher here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Maybe that'll help. All right, back to the process. We have a piece of batting or flannel on the bottom. We have our backing piece right side up the best you can. Everything's lined up. Then we need a backing piece right side down. Don't give up on me yet, guys. All right, so this is right side up, so I want to put this right side down. Just like that. Everything's lined up at the top. And, yep, at the bottom. Another piece of batting, in our case flannel. Make sure nothing gets bunched up. Okay. And remember, this is 36 inches long. Okay, then fabric 1, which is row 1, right side up. Just like that. And you may have some overhang on the sides because of the seam allowance. I measured 36 inches, but remember when we connected these, we lost a ½ inch, which is good because we want extra, just in case. All right, that was row 1. Now we want to take row 2 and put it right sides together on top of our last one. And then I got to make sure that when I open this, if I sew on this side, because I have words on here. Let me get rid of this string. If I sew on this side, I have to figure out if I sew like that over here. So I think I want to sew on this side so that when this opens, it comes out like that. So we are going to sew, in my case, on the serger, this side, right here. And if we want to see how it's going to pop open, go ahead and pop those clips in there. You can pin or you can clip. I like to clip for these types of projects. Just like that. And it is a lot of fabric. However, it'll be quick and easy. Okay, we have everything layered. If we were to open this, it'll be like this. And then there's our battings, and if we flip it up, we should be good to go. So we're going to give it a try. I am headed to the serger to sew along here. And if you are using the sewing machine, again, just be sure you have your walking foot on. It doesn't appear to be too bad with the flannel. Okay, I'm off and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back from the serger. I'm just taking a peek to make sure I caught all the edges. Let's open this up and see what we have. There's the flannel, there's the backing. And if you look at the back, this is what it looks like. How about that? And then you can open it up and pull things out if you need to. And pull this out. And the backing on it. Same way with this side. But how magic is that? All right, and I think we're even there. And we'll have to do some trimming, which is fine. Yeah, we'll have to do some trimming over there. But that is fine because this is a scrappy, scrappy quilt. And I'm a little off over here. But isn't that cute? Now is the time, not for row 2, but for row 1. If you wanted to go to the sewing machine and do any kind of quilting, if you wanted a design on the back, I might run 2 rows of stitches down, just some curly cues, real quick. Other than that, I am not going to do any other quilting. Because we're not using batting, we really don't have to worry about that because it will stay intact and everything is hooked together. But if you're one that likes quilting, I might even just go down the center and do 1. So I think I'll do that and I'll be right back. All right, let me show you. Here's the back. I just ran a line of my curved line down the back. And so this is secured here, so we don't have to worry about that. And that should be all the quilting I'm going to do for that row. But of course, if you wanted later on, you could come back and do all that you wanted. Next, we're going to connect this row to row 3, which is right here. Just like that. All right, next we need a piece of backing fabric. This is for adding the additional rows. We did 1 and 2. This is for row 3, 4, and 5. What we'll need to do is place a piece of backing fabric right sides up with the right sides of the backing from row 2 on top of that one. And we'll line these up as we go along here. There we go. So right sides together on the backing. I'll take my pin out. Just like that. And the right sides are matching. There we go. Then we'll layer row 3 on top of row 2, right sides together. And a piece of batting or flannel. Just like that. Make sure everything is lying flat. Line up those raw edges down here. So again, we have a piece of our backing fabric right side up. We laid row 3 on top of row 2, and we have our flannel on top. Make sure everything's lying flat and clip that in place. We just want to make sure our raw edges are together. And if you have to, use lots of clips. It's perfectly fine. Just like that. I wish I had a bigger table so I could show you better. I do apologize, but hopefully I'm explaining it enough. If not, just leave me a question in the comment. Otherwise, we'll have to do another video on it, right? And everything is lined up. I'm headed to the serger and I'm just going to sew along the side. And if you're using your sewing machine, throw on that walking foot, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Let's see how we did. Let me make sure my seams look okay. And it's going to look like that. Looks pretty good. I need to move things here so I can open this up. We'll bring our backing fabric, and just like that, it's coming along. So the 3rd row now has a quilt top. It now has flannel or batting, and it now has a backing. How neat is that? And things are a little wonky on here, but what do you think so far? Isn't it beautifully ugly? I love it. Now is the time, if you wanted, because you have room, you could go ahead and do a decorative stitch down the center of row 2, and I think I'll do that. When I have that done, I'll be right back. Okay, just like before, we're going to get a backing fabric. And that's going to be right side up. That goes underneath row 3. Just line up the raw edges. And that is under row 3. Make sure we're all lined up here. Yes. And we have plenty on this side. Okay. Just want to make sure those raw edges are together. And just take your time with it. If you need to move it around, go ahead. There we go. I think that will do it. And there's plenty over here. And plenty over here. And there is puckering, and that's fine. I think it adds to the charm of it. And then next, we're going to lay row 4 on. See how fast this comes together. Here's row 4. Right sides together. And then what's next, guys? Our batting or flannel. And then let's get all those edges lined up. That looks good. How about over here? That looks good. And we're looking good right there. Clip. And then I'm on to the serger. That's when you need a table for this, because I have a little place for my serger. I'm forced to hold this heavy thing up to the serger. And I'm just making sure everything is aligned at the bottom. All right, I'm off to the serger. All right, we have another one done. Here is the backing, and see how the seam is enclosed? How cool is that? And then we'll pull down the flannel, and then we pull down this. And if you wanted, you could now go ahead and run a quilting line down row 3. I'm going to go do that, and I'll be right back. We are now ready to attach our 5th row, and I think we have this down pat, right? We need to lay a backing fabric down. Our last one, right sides up. That goes underneath row number 4. Just making sure that that gets lined up. Just like that. Take out my pin here. Okay. And I think I'll clip it this time while I'm lining up the other side. Got that one done. Back to the center. Line those up. It gets a little wonky at this point. But again, if I had a bigger table, it would not be an issue, right? Okay, we'll get these lined up here. And those are lined up pretty good. Next, right sides down on our third row. Here's our third row. And I got to make sure because this is directional. So if I place it like that, and I sew along here, this should come down like that. So we're good to go there. And then what's last? The batting or flannel. We'll line that up. Whatever you have to do to keep it lined up. We will obviously be doing some trimming here, but that is fine. I'm off to the serger to sew here. If you're off to the sewing machine, just remember, use your walking foot and a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll be right back. Our quilt is complete except for trimming and binding. Honestly, it doesn't take that long at all. What do you guys think? When I get it all trimmed up and I get the binding on, I'll be back to show you guys. But I just love this. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll answer them. If you think we need another video on it with some different blocks, we can do that as well. But I think for a baby quilt, a lap quilt, it's going to be perfect. So let me finish this up and I'll be back to show you what we have. Our quilt is finished. It was literally in one day. This was so much fun to put together. Here's a look at the binding. And I just did a zigzag stitch all the way around. Here's the back, looks nice and clean. And here's all the blocks. And if you turn it over, this all looks nice and clean. Here are my swirls or curves. So pretty. It's a beautiful ugly quilt, isn't it? This will be great to cuddle up in on the recliner. I do hope that you guys will make one of these. And again, if you have questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'd be happy to help the best I can. Another look at the binding. And I just used my binding technique from my other video. And there's that. And if you'd like a video where we just put together the blocks for our quilt, please let me know that as well. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a Bible verse and a final thought to encourage you. This one is from Psalm 145, verses 8 and 9. The Lord is gracious and full of compassion, slow to anger, and great in mercy. The Lord is good to all, and his tender mercies are all over his works. This verse reminds us that our lives, much like this quilt, can appear messy or imperfect. Yet God sees beauty and purpose in every part. He lovingly pieces together our experiences, creating something uniquely beautiful out of what we might overlook. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me today. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for all your comments, your shares. And until the next video, God bless you.